Next segment tonight is the federal government persecuting Nevada rancher Cliven Bundy. As you may know, he has refused to pay grazing rights for his cattle to the feds, claiming the land in question should belong to the state of Nevada, not the federal government. Now, a factor investigation shows that not to be the case, that Mr. Bundy is on the wrong side of the law. However, by sending armed agents to seize Mr. Bundy's cattle, the feds have provoked a national story. Judge Andrew Napolitano opined that the sensible way to handle Bundy would be to put a lien on his land and negotiate. But some on the left seem to want figurative blood.
He didn't pay. He broke the law. We believe in a country in which we're subject to laws, and we can't just ignore the laws that we don't like. And I think that clearly, if state and federal prosecutors look at this more closely, they're going to find that he broke the law and he should be prosecuted.
Mr. Reid is the son of Senator Harry Reid, and if I can get him on the program, which I can never do, I would ask him, okay, you a hardline immigration guy then? How about that? You know, broke the law, right? Hey, there's something more here. Joining us now from Washington, Kate Obenshain and Kirsten Powers, both are Fox News analysts. So what do you think, Powers?
Well, look, first of all, I agree with you on the fact that his claim that the land, doesn't belong to the federal government isn't true. He has broken the law. Okay, that's all true. But why does this law even exist in the first place? Why can't they have their? Why would there were other people who actually removed their cattle, sold their grazing rights, and this one person said, no, I'm not going to sell my grazing rights, and the federal government has been persecuting him ever since. Why? So the question is, why can't these cattle stay on this land? And I think that the claim that it's because of some endangered species, I just don't think holds water. And so why are they harassing this man? What harm is he doing?
Well, they want to make an example out of him because they don't want anarchy out in the federal lands in the West. It's a complicated situation. I read a number of things today, Kate, about why the federal government would come down on him, because the federal government manages so much land in the West. And there's a lot of fees paid to local and state by the feds because of this. So that's why Mr. Bundy isn't getting a lot of support other than from his friends and from people who believe that the government's a fascist entity from the jump. How do you see it?
Well, it's interesting that the BLM was able to make an exception for one of Harry Reid's largest donors, Mr. Whitmore, and yet it can't make an exception because Cliven Bundy doesn't contribute money to Harry Reid. He's not powerful. He doesn't know important people. So, of course, they're going to try to make an example out of him. It's interesting. The BLM pulled back for a little while, and it was the Center for Biological Diversity, this fanatical environmentalist group, of course, came in and said, no, 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 you have to protect the turtles. You have to. The tortoises, I'm sorry. So then the BLM initiated again.
Right,
but I think there is a lot behind this.
Let's assume that there's a lot of nefarious politics involved with this. I think everybody knows this isn't really worth the federal government's while to send 80 guys out there to round up cattle. And Napolitano had the solution. All right? You can't allow it because anarchy is anarchy. You can't allow it. But just put a lien on the property. So the guy owes $1 million. He's never going to pay it. All right? And as long as that guy's alive, he's not going to pay a dime to the government. He'd rather go to the penitentiary than do that. But put the lien on the land, and then when he dies and things like that, you can come in and do what you want. And that kind of diffuses it. It doesn't make it right. I mean, I'm not siding with the federal government here. But I think that's the way to handle it. Would you be okay with that, Powers?
Yeah, that's a better way than handling it than sending in armed people and setting up free speech zones where you tell people what they are allowed to say and not allowed to say, which to me is completely unconstitutional and illegal, or should be illegal. Unfortunately, it isn't. And no, I'm not okay with that because I don't understand why this guy is being forced off of this land. If you go all the way back to the beginning, like I said, the federal government came in and they basically forced people to give up their rights to their grazing rights. And I don't understand on what grounds they were doing that.
Well,
other than the fact that they have to protect some tortoises, which I'm sorry, the tortoises can coexist with cattle.
I got the tortoises thing. But if you go back further than that, this happened after the Mexican-American War, all right, in Nevada, where once we defeated Mexico, all the land that they had in North America came under the federal government. So that hasn't changed.
It's their land. I agree with you.
That hasn't changed.
I agree with you. It's their land. But the question is, I'm sorry, is this man not part of the United States of America? The federal government works for the American people. It's not. So the way that they are treating this man is, it's like, why can't there be an exception?
Way too heavy-handed.
I mean, what are they charging him $1 million for? Grass? I don't understand. Like,
it's fines. It's been going on. It's fines. It's this. It's that.
But he's not causing any harm to anybody.
No, except for the tortoises, and I don't even know where they live.
And I don't think he is even harming the tortoises.
Hey, first, can I just welcome Kirsten over to the right side? That she acknowledges that this government works for us.
I'm sorry.
I will have to say, though, Bill, this is not anarchy. Cliven Bundy is not creating anarchy. What you're seeing this response to is the anarchy of frankly, a federal government that's picking and choosing which laws it's going to
pick and choose who they go after. And I'll tell you this, if you don't believe this, you're crazy. Because Mr. Bundy is kind of a Tea Party-esque guy, and because his pals are, you know, in that we don't like the government, leave us alone crew, believe me, there's a lot of that. That's why the Reids are involved. They don't like these people at all. I'm going to give Kate the last word.
I think there's a lot of money issues that the Reids are involved as well. But Kirsten pointed out these First Amendment areas, and she said they should be illegal. Well, what folks don't realize is the federal government didn't think it would be a big deal because these First Amendment areas are in about 40% of our college campuses where kids are not allowed to say what they want to say. It's the same thing. The federal government, the left is trying to control thought. It's trying to control speech. This is why people are so upset and angry.
I'm getting upset because you know what I think is going to happen is that we're going to have armed agents sent by Holder to shut down the Factor because we're scaring the tortoises. That's going to be next.
We are.
All right. Ladies, thanks very much. Directly ahead.